Hi, I'm Shelly, and I want to share my past life regression experience with you. And before we get started, I want to talk about what kind of person I am. I guess like my foundational beliefs. Just really quickly. So I was born in the South, and I have Christian foundations. Then I started, getting really into academia, especially the natural science. Became an atheist quite quickly, and saw religion as an institution to control the masses, a social construct. And I rejected anything that spiritual, anything that came, and I was like, oh, okay, this is just some hogwash. Because you start to see like some ridiculous things. But atheism itself is a belief system, and you start rejecting things. And it wasn't until I started reading about discoveries in quantum sciences and neuroscience and all these phenomenal things that were happening that really alter the way we perceive reality. And sometimes it takes when we're going through a crisis to reach out and find things. And that wasn't so much my case. I'm just curious of life, curious of consciousness. Always have been. So really trying to put it together. And with diving into science and looking at these things, I came across NDEs, all these different types of experiences, what doctors have to say of these experiences, researchers. So that led me to the work of Dr. Brian Weiss, who he's renowned for past regression and life therapy, and then also the work of that led me to the work of Dr. Michael Newton, who is now deceased, but he has a whole academy, and his whole work specializes in life between life. Uh, and regression therapy. And with that being said, it's an interesting therapy. So when we talk about this therapy, you're going over its hypnosis, and hypnosis has a very misunderstood meaning as far as a type of therapy. So just going basically what it is somebody's guiding you, your therapist is guiding you to a state of deep meditation, if you will, to open your subconscious. And the thing about this is it's your subconscious. You're answering questions like this. I mean, think about it. If you and your therapist were in an awake state, playing Mad Lib, you would take some seconds to answer this. Like you would kind of want to think, and you would be kind of worried, thinking, "Hey, well, what about this?" You're trying to puzzle it. You're using your prefrontal cortex more, I guess, your left side of your brain more. Your more analytical side of your brain more to construct these ideas. So it's going to take you longer time. Plus, that judgmental factor, how you feel about that all these different things. So my therapist was really cool. Had really a soft, nice, therapeutic voice. His name was Scott, and he guided me through this session. Off the bat, I trusted him. This was my first time doing it, so I didn't know really what to expect. He had these videos that were great prior. He asked me to watch prior to the session, so you wouldn't get false expectations like, hey, you're going to put in a movie. It's like as soon as you close your eyes, a video is being put in, and it's playing your past life right before your eyes like a movie. It's not how it comes. It comes in indents and impressions, and some people sense things different. Everybody senses things differently. Some people have an emotional connection. Some people can see through the eyes of the person. I wasn't able to do that. I was only able to see as the observer, and I didn't feel anything as far as like I couldn't feel their feelings. I just knowledge just came flooding to me at different points. Stuff didn't make sense when I saw it, but then later, as their therapist guided me and it folded out, I was able to put it together, if that makes sense. So, and I'm gonna read you my experience. My guided experience. I just wanted to let you know what to expect, what your expectations are. And I had a rough time letting go into that subconscious state. I'm the type of person, even though I try to practice meditation, I still, oh, this itches, and I'm concentrating on that. Why is this itch so much? Why this would never happen. And also the fear of falling asleep. But it was like and that's when it hit. It's because I was relaxing. I was relaxing, and I didn't want to let go, and it kept me in this state of this yellow cloud, which I call the yellow cloud because I think what it was is I had a small light on, and it was that reflecting off my eyelids because my eyelids were closed, so I was in this yellow state for a long time, and then I kind of like got sleepy enough to where I kind of jumped into the subconscious state, though. It was weird. And you're able to answer questions like this normally that you wouldn't able. So, to describe this, I have a survey on www.higherconsciousthinker.com. If you will go out, if you had this experience, please fill out, because I'm dying to know other people's experience, what other people felt, how things can come to people in other people's reality. So I'm going to read you my survey that I have that I filled out to help guide this discussion. So, what type of experience I had? I had a past life regression and a spirit guide meeting. That's the session I signed up for. And when you sign up for the therapist, they'll generally ask you, what are some questions you want to know? And then you tell them, you give them the questions, and they'll say, okay, we'll concentrate on this. Otherwise, they have nothing to go on. And so on my survey, I said, please describe the events that happened during the experience. Please include time, years, periods, if you know them, whether it's in the BCE or in the CE, if known, before common error or in common error. A description of yourself and others, what you witness, who you witness, and any other detailed information. So here we go. Here's my past life regression experience. So I finally reached this state, and my therapist was asking me to describe what I see. Hey, what do you see around you? Is there anybody around you? And for a long time I didn't, but it finally came to me. So the time I felt was in a BCE period, before Common Era, but I did not perceive an actual date. The location was in the southeastern part of North America. So I want to say somewhere Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, that area in there. We were a nomadic tribe. The environment I saw was thick and dense, wooded forest, streams, creeks, and that's what I knew. Um, That's what I sensed at first when I saw this. And I saw this impression of a large man with black hair. He had black hair. It was kind of like thin, and medium, if you will, and mocha skin around the age of 40. He had a very serious face. He had a cut in his lip, and his body was somewhat a box like, with a large chest, and he was it's kind of a slim waist. He was muscular, about 6'4", and he had the body of a warrior, and his name was either Haji or Hachi, one of those. My therapist kept asking me his name, and all I received was kind of like a H at first, like a ha, yeah, and then I finally realized it's either Hachi or Hachi, whatever they called him. So anyway, moving on. He had this guy who's me. He had on animal headdress, and the rest of his clothing were pieces of animal skins sewn loosely together, and it was these bull horns. And to explain the subconscious state, normally me, Shelley, I would be bothered by it. I mean, I'm not gonna go over there. I'm not waiting by with a bucket of blood trying to throw fake blood or anything. But I mean, at the same time, like, I would be kind of somewhat, well, okay. But I don't know. I just felt not. I didn't have any kind of emotion towards that. I was just like, okay, this is the way he lived. And, and then it came to an understanding that this guy was very kind. He gave back to the animals. Very, very cool. I just wanted to take my time to address that. And the animal skins were loosely sewn together. And on his headdress, he had like two horn things right here. I don't know what kind of horns they were, but it symbolizes that what kind of warrior he was, or something special about him. But I never understood what it exactly meant. And he had fish hooks made with animal bones that were embedded in the animal skins that he wore, and used perhaps as a fishing lure. And Haji traveled around with a group of people, around 15, that consisted of men, women, and children, and elders. They were nomadic people, and they made their houses temporary out of the animal skins. Like, they would set up camp, and to have coverings and protection from the wind, they would use the animal skins and set up this like a tent like thing from the animal skins which they hung in the trees, and they carried their belongings, which consisted mostly of animal skins, and for bedding and protection, clayware. They had other resourceful materials as well, and bags, totes, and backpacks they made from interweaving strong plant-like material together. Haji was the protector of the group, but he was not the leader. The leader was a handful of middle-aged and elderly people who made the decisions for the group, such as where to migrate and when to migrate. They knew a lot about. They had knowledge of the earth, basically this special knowledge that they kept hold of. Not like they kept it private. Our group was very open and very loving to each other. And just to explain, our group took care of the sick and the weak before others were served other offerings. So let's just say that they went and they can only find a couple of squirrels for the day. That would go to who needed it most. And we were a special group in the sense because there were very violent tribes out there. There were very violent settlements, other violent nomadic tribes, but there were also very friendly tribes out there and very friendly nomadic groups. We were a very loving, very altruistic family group, but there would constantly be members dying in and out, and that's why Haji had such a serious face. Is because he's lost so many people. In fact, the groups I mean, they wouldn't even have the same people every 3 to 5 years. Sometimes they wouldn't even last that long because kids would die naturally. They were vulnerable. Um, the elderly were also a vulnerable group. And think about it this way: if you fall and skid your knee or broke something, you got an infection, you're probably going to die. There's no bacteria, there's no kind of advanced medical care that you could receive. So, and you eat the wrong thing, you're dead. So it's very, very deathly world out there. Especially humans, they were hunting each other as well. That was the biggest danger from what I understand. So I want to show you guys. I did do a drawing of Haji. Let me see if I can. That's what he looks like with his bull horns. I don't know if it's with the CH or a DJ. But yeah, so this is what he looked like with his animal skins weaved together. He's got like a big chest, and there's just fishing hooks dangling. At first, I was like, "Well, okay, wow, he's got a little fancy boy here." But then I understood later about the fishing hooks, what they were and what they represented, and they were not just fancy decorations. So, like I said, there were multiple human tribes all around. Some permanent settlements with walls. Haji did not like to even friendly settlements. He didn't want to be a part of. He didn't want to go in. He didn't like to be around large groups of people. Is what I sensed from him. Which, you know, I think that's why I connected with this character is because it's kind of how I feel today. Some tribes were friendly, and like I said, other tribes were hunted them, purposely hunted them. And what I mean by that is the other human tribes they would kill the men and kidnap the women and take the goods. I mean, and sometimes it would just, and their women would be disgraced. They would come in and slave captured women. That was never a good title. Uh, so, with that being said, in this I guess lifetime cultures and what have you, and Haji had seen much death in his lifetime. He had lost many lovers and his children to these kidnappings due to childbirth, death due to violent attacks, and other tribesmen. So there's just been from other tribesmen attacking his kids. His sons have died violently, and he just had so much loss. And then I regressed to Haji as a child. My therapist regressed to a time where he said a learning point, a turning point in Haji's life to where, because what I sense from Haji as his warrior is that he's had to kill so many people in his life, and he was a renowned warrior, but he wasn't happy about his title, because it came with a heavy price, and all those lives he killed, he didn't want that, even though it was protection of him and his tribe members. It weighed heavy on him. And also the death of everybody. He didn't want to form new relationships with anybody or get close to them. He had this, like, distance to everyone, even though he would do anything to protect his tribesmen in his group. So kind of that kind of character. So then I regressed as Haji as a child around the age of 10, and he was running through the forest with the children. He was chasing, having a great time, playing tag, having the thrills of his life. So, and he grew up without his mother. His mother died during childbirth, but he was close with his grandmother, who taught him how to be kind, how to be caring. His grandmother was his guidance, is his mentor in his life. And she was violently killed by another group of humans when Haji was around 12 years old. And I saw that, and that's the turning point in Haji's life where he didn't trust other people, and he took his rage out on killing other people, but even off the amount of killing, it still didn't fill that void, I guess, if you will. It just made it worse. It just made him feel uh, like he was part of the problem, if you will. Even though he was just trying to protect. So my therapist then regressed me to see how relates to my current life. And I observed Haji, that was a big, strong, loving, masculine figure who was loved and protected by, he was loved and wanted to protect those, friendly to him, but grew cold and killing other people in other tribe groups. And he did not want to kill, but he felt the need to in order to protect those around him. And he killed many, many men and lost many people throughout his life. Everyone close to him was only in his life or in small increments. He began to deeply mistrust all other humans to the point everyone was his suspected enemy. So a lot of paranoia there too, and he closed his heart to having deep, intimate relationships because he had lost so much. And I then saw Haji running through the woods after I was regressed. He was running through the woods, and he was running for his life, but he kind of felt like he was giving in, like he was ready to become part of nature again. And that was his mindset as he was running, like he was waiting for it. He was waiting to die. And so he was running through the woods, and I saw he was alone, and a young warrior, a group of warriors. There was this young, big, strong warrior. He was like in his about 25. He threw a spear, and he threw it with his slinging device, because I was so fixated on the fact, because what I saw at first is the spear go through Haji's, like through his shoulder blades and out through his chest, like the tip poked out a little bit, and it caused him to trip and fall. Um, and I was thinking, like, God, that's a big dude. How did that spear go through his chest? He was too far. There's no way it would have penetrated like his chest like that. There's no way this guy had that great of arm. And then I turned to the warriors, like after I died, after Haji's fell, he immediately died, like once he fell to the ground, because he knew it was death, so he was prepared for it. So it was an easy transition for him as he fell, and he died immediately. But I mean, they didn't know that the group of warriors. But I kind of like was looking. Now focused my attention to the group of warriors, the one who had just killed me, and I didn't feel like any kind of hate or anything towards that warrior. I just felt curious, because that he was so proud, and this kind of made me feel happy in a weird way. That sounds weird, but he was so it kind of made, because he was so proud that he killed such an astonishing warrior. It meant something big to him. And I even have a drawing here of. Let me get this video set straight here. Here we go. Here he is with the spear in his back, in his chest, between his shoulder blades. And here's the forest. I try to draw the trees. He's running in the forest, and here's the group of warriors right here. And he has this sling in his arm that helps with the velocity. I guess it helped also to take down bison or buffalo in this region too. Um, and that's how he killed. That he was able to penetrate him through the chest at that weapon. Use it as that kind of a weapon. And So yeah, and this warrior, he was about to get elevated because he had made such an astonished kill because this guy was a big bad warrior, is a renowned warrior. But what I sensed from him and from his life is he was a renowned warrior, but he wasn't proud of it. Like he wasn't proud of all the the title. He's kind of humble. He was tired of suffering. He was tired of death. Tired of being hunted, constantly hunted. But these warriors were very proud and elevated. But it was also funny because they were very scared. None of them wanted to go near just to confirm the kill. They knew that he would eventually bleed out and die because they knew they hit him right in the back. They knew exactly where they hit him. They had great eyes. They had great vision. They were biologically made to understand this. But they were all too scared to get near them, and I thought that was funny because their concern was, oh, Haji's strong enough to where they could still grab them and kill them and crush them. And they say, no, we wait, we wait. And so that was pretty funny in my experience. So uh, yeah, so and that leads to my in my current life. I have much upper back pain, especially between my shoulder blades. And my therapist asked why my ailments exist in my current life. My guide responded that it serves a reminder to open my heart, despite knowing that it will get hurt. It is important for to form relationships with people, give other people a chance, and do not dismiss people so easily as I normally do. Always trying to rush away from people. So um, the next question I have in my survey is how many past lives did you experience and how did each life make you feel? And so just one experience for me, and this took 3 hours. And the time here is very crazy because it only seemed like it was 30 minutes. Um, 45 tops, but I mean obviously I confirmed like what time it started, what time it ended, from 7 to 10. So that was quite an experience. So my therapist tried to guide me to see the world through Haji's eyes, but I was never able to see it. Kind of like trying to fit into this body, but popping out. I wasn't allowed to see it or feel it through it. His feelings came. It did not come to me. But I had a bundle of knowledge and understanding later of how he felt, but I didn't feel what he felt. I just understood how he felt, if that makes sense. Meaning that I could easily understand everything that about this life at once. Um, and the knowledge and the link between these two lives were numerous and flooded in as if, oh yeah, I knew that. Another interesting way my therapist described these past lives and how they relate to us, whether they're what they represent, if they're factual document and history in this universe or maybe in a different parallel universe, or we're getting on that, it doesn't matter. What he said is picture a chessboard and picture the many layers of the chessboard, okay? And you represent just one layer, and you're able to channel, and many layers represent you. You can have, maybe you're a pawn in this one, a queen in this one, a king in this one, a pawn in this one. But you can alter the way the outcomes, the way you experience, the way you feel, because grabbing a hold of the now. It's all this connections that you can make from this. So, moving on to the next question. Did your experience take you to another location other than Earth? Did you experience a past life as different species? Did you experience a past life as another being somewhere else? If so, please explain. And yes, because I signed up I wanted to meet my spirit guide because I went to two mediums and they said, yeah, there's this big tall figure. Um, one medium said that there was a classy dresser. He was very tall and um, very, I guess, cocky, if you will. And then the other medium, I said to confirm. I didn't tell her about this, but she noted it too. Because it was just nothing important that I would have noted. And I was like, okay, that's just some information she threw out. I mean, that could say anything. But another medium said the same thing. Had a similar description, and then it turned out like my guide kind of represents what this is when I met my spirit guide. So uh, in my questions that I asked for my therapist, I wanted to know the best my best life, thinking it would be a medieval warrior of some kind on this plane. So, but it was on another planet that was dying, and it was a beautiful and peaceful planet, and it had a lot like a greens and dark greens and blues. I didn't see like any other colors than that, but there were no carnivores. My species, it was a wing type human, not an angel, but like the wings were feathery. And they ate plants, and our purpose was to monitor and make the planet thrive and let things evolve, like I guess learn stages, small stages of evolution. I don't know, but the planet had reached its max stage of evolution and was being consumed up by the sun, their ball of gas um, that they had there, and it was my best life because it was the most peaceful life, and that was my other location from Earth. And I didn't see my spirit guide at this time. It was uh, a little bit after this. I saw this, so this was very interesting, and it kind of revealed to me a lot of different things. So describe the state of existence you experienced during your life between lives. Where did you go? What did you do? Who did you meet? Did you see your ancestors, your guides? What knowledge were you given? What is the name of your guides? What happened? And when I went through these different states, I didn't see or feel or recognize anybody. And first I couldn't even recognize myself. So it was hard for me to especially when I reached the state of when I was meeting my spirit guide and the other people, the other energies around me, I didn't know who they were, but I knew they were part of my group only because my therapist, or the knowledge kind of like came to me. Um, so answering these questions, after my past life regression, my therapist guided me to a healing location, and I immediately observed almost like a tree building inside with small tables. And it looked like small tables, but they were actually, um, it kind of looked like a well, but had special water in it. And I noticed the forms of energy around me, the beings of energy, and there were three blue glowing energy balls that had different shades of blue that constantly pulsed. Okay, and the figures were more ball shaped versus and there was a tall yellow figure. It was silhouette typed. Yellow figure made out of yellow light. It was not feminine or masculine. And I have a picture to help to help with our visual guidance here. Um, so here we go. Um, here's who I'm going to talk about. I'm going to read my description. So this was supposed to be the tree light. I couldn't draw it because I'm not a good artist, but this is literally the silhouette that I saw. And this is what it looked like. I mean, there was no attachment to the head, but this is what it looked like. It was tall, slender, kind of like this exact shape. And the guide's name was Azcan. And here I was right here observing. And next to me were these two things that were like me. They had the same color. They were the same color pulsating lights as me. They're my soul family from what I understand. Uh, so those are what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the three blue glowing balls. And my therapist wanted to engage, and they knew I was eager to know everything, and they laughed at me and teased at me at first, telling me I have to figure it out on my own. And it was kind of funny because I didn't think, they were gonna interact. I had this impression that they were either about to play this really ridiculous mean trick on me, or something was gonna happen. But my therapist kindly addressed the yellow light and asked a series of questions, and that's why, like, when this yellow light kind of stepped up, this Ascan figure kind of stepped up, and like I said, its name was Ascan, and at first it had this attitude that I really couldn't interpret. I thought it was going to be mean trickster. Um, but it then, as my therapist started asking questions, that it seemed to have no problem interpreting and talking. My therapist then proceeded to ask the 6 questions that I had proposed, which I wanted to find out. Uh, I'll just go over my 6 questions. One, the typical what is my destiny? Number two, what were the orbs I experienced during 2005, 2006? So I kept seeing these orbs in the daylight, in the broad daylight. It wasn't at night when I had just woken up. It wasn't when I had just waken up in any state. And I'll go into that later, but I had seen these orbs. One's the size like of a basketball, and I remember seeing it in the barracks where I was doing. I was part of the recon team. I mean, I'm sorry, the First Marine Division base team. But anyway, um, uh, what we were doing is I was in going into the barracks, and the other guys were up there playing Halo 3. I remember it perfectly, and I was getting ready to go to Huntington Beach to hang out with my friends, and it was during the day, and we were doing a shift change, and I went into the women's barracks, and I was grabbing my pack, and I remember seeing this big ball of light, and it was orange, and nobody else saw it because of course they were in there, they were playing their game, so they were distracted, and I couldn't, of course I didn't reach out or anything. I was so stunned and I was frozen, and I watched as this big ball like floated and moved around weirdly, and it just like dashed out the window. And then there was another time where another similar small ball of yellow light, I'm sorry, white light, came, and my dog didn't notice it. So I was like, "Go get it, girl, go get it." She didn't notice it, and she didn't sense anything bad from it. But I watched as it went out the window, and I wasn't under any kind of drugs. I wasn't experimenting with any kind of things like that. I didn't know what it was. So that was very interesting, just a little bit to reflect on that question. The other question I asked is, who are my guides? What was my first past life? What was my best life? And who am I? And the knowledge that Askin shared was that I have lived hundreds of lives on Earth, and hundreds of lives on other planes, dimensions, and other systems. And he said that I would live many more on Earth, which is a system I am bound to at the moment. I must understand the complexities of being a human being. In my past life, I judged the humans for being so messed up, and I kind of looked down on most people. And I carry that into this life. And that's kind of what they were highlighting there. He was highlighting there. So my destiny is to provide love and growth and assist others so that we may achieve the next stage of human evolution. And the orbs I have experienced in those years were a distraction from my current guides at the time, who knew I would not have a clue or even can't even start to piece together what happened and explain the events that happened. They knew I'd be distracted because I was going. Um, the distraction was intended for me to look outward on the mysteries of life instead of getting caught inward in my head and my feelings, and it worked. Because I was somewhat unstable, sensitive. Not, I guess that's a bad way to describe me. I just didn't know how to deal with emotions properly at the time. So I was in my young 20s. Um, and our guides tend to change throughout our lifetime, but it depends on the soul, the stage of development, evolution, the soul's preference. Um, but I have had thousands of guides over many lifetimes, but Askin said that he has always been there with me, and he always will be. So that was very interesting, and I honestly could not help but feel like Askin is more like a stern father who I respect, but I would not go running into his arms for the comfort type. Like, we're not a hugging family. We're more of a stoic family that says, "Well done," if you're well done. Uh, yeah, because I remember the hesitance that when the therapist asked, how was my first life, and there was a hesitant like, well, it could have done better. It could have went better. But But you knew he was just being a jerk. Like you can sense he was being a jerk doing that. Just a little to reflect on what you feel when you talk about this guy. So, I also wanted to know my first life on the planet, and it was my life as Haji. And even though I'm still unsure of the time period, I mean, it could be 6,000 BC, it could be who knows. So I had no idea how old or young I am. I still don't have a perspective on that. Uh, but since you can't really get a time perspective on it, time's linear. In the third dimensional world, we understand it a certain way as humans, so it's not so in this particular aspect. Honestly, I still don't know the age, so I am fairly young since my first life as a Homo sapien in the Americas. So, and you got to think about it. Humans, Homo sapiens in America, we're around 14,000 BCE before Common Era in the Americas. But I mean, that's not to say that's exactly when I lived. I could have lived, 6,000, 4,000, who knows. So, and that was my first life here on this plane. My best life on was other plane, and I guess I lived many lives there because I'm very attached to that plane that no longer exist. And my therapy wanted to know more about the other species like me who came to the planet. Um, and Askin said that there were thousands of my kind that decided to come here. But then my therapist asked if I personally know any of them, and he said no, that's not important, nor will it be, nor will it ever be. So I don't know what that meant. I guess in this life. Um, not important in this life. So I expected my best life would have been a medieval warrior because of my strong interest in this life, and it was not. I now know who I am in this life and who I want to evolve into being. And the reason why I say medieval, I love like sword fighting. I love that time period. If there's a documentary or like a fantasy, I want to watch it. Like a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, that kind of stuff. To be honest, and I understand the traits that follow me. I understand that the traits follow me, and it's our choice to be who we want to be. It sounds simple, but now I understand it at a completely different level. Ascan gave the impression that I knew all the answers and that he found my behavior somewhat silly. um, he found it amusing that I am seeking interest in my past life. I still do not understand the smugness behind this. So before this experience, I thought maybe I was more alone than not, and I really did not buy into spirit guides per se. Uh, I didn't. I did think too that I didn't really think that I belonged to some kind of soul group. I kind of felt like, well, maybe I'm just like the one that's out there doing my own thing, which is kind of, I guess, like egotistic way to think, though. Um, and because I don't feel like I shared any lives with other people on this physical plane. And of course, there's barriers there, memory barriers there for purpose. But like I said, even in that plane, I didn't feel like I related to anybody or knew anybody or recognized anybody. So no knowledge was revealed on the people I know in this current life who are apart from my soul group. I did not recognize anyone from my soul group, but I knew when I saw that blue energy that they were my soul group. It seemed like we were all connected. And my group has similar traits in that they love to joke and they love to play like children. And they love to pull pranks and tricks, but they are also innocent in a weird way. As in they're sweet. They don't want bad or harmful intentions. Like they don't bring the pranks to a detrimental level. So, with that being said, the next question is how did you experience the event? Check all that apply. Check any and all that apply. So, my experience was a visual experience, and it came knowledge and instinct or insight, uh, it came, and that's how it was. Not like watching a movie. It was more like you get these imprints and you get the knowledge that comes flooding in, and then all of a sudden you understand these things. So the next question is, what are some similarities and comparisons of yourself in this life versus the previous life? Or how would you describe yourself as being in the state of life between lives? And so for me, I thought and felt differently about life. The meaning of life and the relationships were completely different than they are now. As far as my past life, the human bonds, all your energy and love went into another human being. It didn't really go into your material things. Like you were appreciated of your animal skins, your material stuff, and what have you. But you're more all your energy went into other beings. And particularly in my group, we were a very loving, very tight knit group. And even though there were strangers coming in and out all the time, it still stayed like a band of tight knit humans that loved each other. Versus now, we give our energy more to electronics, more to other materialistic things. And we don't receive that look back. And sometimes that's why we feel empty. And sometimes that's how we don't feel like we're loved and we don't receive that love, and we're giving love but we're not getting it returned back because you know material things are not going to return your love as human beings are. So, and that's what I mean is the love bonds were more intense, more fierce, and that's just not between two lovers, but also the unconditional love that they cared for one another, and that there was no judgment or jealousy or greedy traits among the group in a way that there is now. It was all for helping the weakest person make it, and it wasn't about the strongest surviving. I would say more now we more or so tolerate our friends, families, and coworkers than we do actually appreciate their lives. We're so wrapped up in our stuff that the relationships are just different. My past life was more connected with nature, and there was something about divine about the sky, in which all the people admired. There was no sense of religion, only an appreciation for life, in what we gave back. We gave back what we took. We would often provide offerings for animal species that would keep them alive. Like if they were hurt, we would try to help them. If they were um, if we had extra food, we'd feed them, and we understood and had this appreciation for the cycle of life. And this life was different in the way of material, like I said, the materialistic. If you live in a society, then your life revolves around these material things, and we put more time and energy into these objects. So I learned that I have to open myself up to other people, even if it makes me uncomfortable. Haji and I are similar in the sense of our loving nature, our innocence, our wanting to do for others, but our craving for solidarity, and the wanting to protect others, and the care for the others who are not able to provide for themselves, especially. And he was playful as a child, but I did not sense that he had a sense of humor in his life, that I do, that I carry on, that I value in this life. I don't think he laughed and enjoyed life as much in that way. So that's something for me to appreciate in this life because I have so much to laugh at and about. I mean, thanks to the entertainment industry. So it seems as if, he were tired and exhausted from always being in stress from being hunted. And it's weird because I have a lot of dreams that I'm being chased and run through the woods, but like I love, especially as a child, playing hide and go seek or like playing tag. And oh man, I don't know why. It gave me such an adrenaline rush. So, moving on to the next question. How did your experience change the way you think, feel, and perspective of life and consciousness? So, I feel like I now know that what I have to do now as far as how to interact with people. I feel like my life is on the right track, and it helped me reassure that what kind of person I was and who I need to be continue to be. The experience was amazing and definitely changed the way I think and feel about the current life that I'm in. Uh, that you know, the life is more. It feels more like a avatar, and I'm behind the control to an extent, and I have to play the game of the life with the tools and the inventory available here that I have for this character, if you will. And I learned not to think so bad about other humans. I naturally give people not the benefit of the doubt. I do the opposite. Just have very extremely low expectations for other people. Just because I don't have a lot of confidence in other people. So, that's something that I need to change. And living in my time, I'm here on a purpose because there are over 7 billion people on the planet. I have to get used to being around people. And I learned that I have many futures on this planet, so that also changes the way I think and feel. And weirdly enough, I feel more settled. And I say weirdly because who in the right mind would honestly want a piece of this? To live as a Homo sapien again on this torturous planet, it seems. But I find beauty, a lot of beauty in this life. I don't necessarily like the way our society is constructed. It could be better, right? But it could be worse. Um, Now it is very much like a hard pass if somewhere were to say to you, let's do it again. If you were to immediately die and say, "Hey, you ready? You ready to jump in? You live your next life?" Um, like I would have I would have a hard time like saying, "Yeah, let's do that." It seems, but I guess I got to get used to it. So, consciousness definitely continues on. Experience of past life confirms and distinguishes who you are as a type of energy, spirit, soul, and life force, and the part that continues to exist and evolve. And that's what you're getting. You're getting the traits that are continuing on. What you're lacking in this life, what you feel, what about your life is going on, stuff that you didn't even know. Uh, that was happening or per se, and you get this knowledge flood. It's really intense. So the next question I have is, do you believe in reincarnation prior to past life regression or life between life therapy regression? And my answer is, we have the seasons, the cycles, the seasons. We have fall. Life and death and the recycle of life is evident everywhere. So it's not such a hard system to buy into. However, I, just like anybody who would be skeptical, um, am still, it makes sense. The cycle of reincarnation does make sense. However, it's good to be skeptic. Hey, it's not proven, but there's some pretty overwhelming evidence out there that says, yeah, you're gonna do this. And I think the great thing about reincarnation is you understand you're every sex, every gender, every race. So it's really hard to be prejudiced in your shell if you have this kind of understanding of life. And if you are, that's you need perspective. Um, so, did you believe in reincarnation after your past life regression or life before life experience? And my answer is yes. I changed the way I think, understand, and perceive life because I wasn't completely sold, and I understand what these past life regression sessions could be. It's like an imprint of energy, is what it is, and it's existing at the same time you are existing, if that makes sense. And it'll exist in the future at the same time. And it's up to you to change that chessboard. Like we're talking about, there's different layers of the chessboard. You correct it in this life. You reaggress. You reassort yourself in this life, and it makes this connection and this flow to where things start to straighten out. Weirdly enough, I know it doesn't make sense on a whole butterfly to affect a level scale, but that's how I understand it. So, what are your thoughts on past life regression or life between life therapy? And I had an amazing therapist my first experience. And before the session, he sends you the information on the theory and expectations so you know what to expect. I am not a person who can meditate for a long period of time. I have tons of mind chatter and I'm a huge skeptic. And you can relate. you have to release and you have to trust yourself when doing this activity. I held on for a long time, which is why it took a long time for me to experience anything. Do not go in to expect to instantly close your eyes and start watching a movie of your past life. It doesn't work that way. It is an impressions that come and go simultaneously. The sessions seemed to last for only was like 15 minutes, but it was really from 7 to 10, so it was pretty long. You have to allow yourself to enter the subconscious state so you can channel communicate. So it's kind of allowing yourself to relax to the point where you're ready to go to sleep, but then automatically you're on this different channel. But you don't, it's like you know it, but you don't know it. It's hard to explain. So, have you ever had hypnosis therapy prior to your regression? No, I have not. It was my first time. So, and I tried different CDs. I didn't get it. I went to sleep straight ahead. So, how would you describe your hypnotherapy experience? Was it difficult to reach a subconscious state? Um, and that's what I said before. At first, I was concentrating so hard that when I was being regressed, and I was too eager to feel something or to see something that I didn't let go, and so I sensed everything. And for the longest time, since I was in this, like I said this yellow cloud, but then I eventually let go. And so the next question is, what are some helpful hints or recommendations you would like to share? And so far, I know from Scott, who is my therapist, his website is lightbetweenlives.com. And he's just such a great experience. And there's other works out there as well. I believe Pieter Elson at elsentherapy.com as well. They have some life. Now, he's a little bit more expensive than Scott, but definitely Scott is quite amazing. So the next question is, do you recommend past life regression therapy? And my answer is yes. It depends. If you're ready for a certain type of awareness, if you're seeking awareness, you're looking for some answers, but you have to remember with past life therapy that also you're opening up this reality that does not make sense in the third dimensional world society that we live in. So it's sometimes mind blowing and it sometimes makes you feel like you're going crazy a little bit, but I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but opening up a different reality is opening up knowledge. And sometimes when you have too much knowledge, it can tinker with your life as it is now in this life form. And like I said, there's a reason why we don't remember our past lives in this life automatically. We can tap into it, but we don't we're not allowed to remember it. We can remember impressions. And what I understand from past life regression is the impressions that we get, our interests, that's impressions and indentations on our energy to a certain point. For instance, like I love sword fighting, and I expected to see like this medieval cool knight sword fighter, bad person, but no, Haji had a spear, and that's what he used. He in fact, Haji was bad and terrible with the bow and arrow. Always been. But this energy imprint from these things, how you feel and how you interact and how these certain things, and even people that maybe you shared a past life with that maybe rubbed you the wrong way or had a positive interaction with, that energy is what you feel too. It's weird. So that definitely opened my eyes. So I would recommend to those who are ready to venture on to a different, who are open minded, who are ready to venture on to that next step of awareness. And with anything, and that includes knowledge, but there are consequences. So just remember that. Well, thanks. I hope this helped.